Mario is one of the most versatile and durable characters and franchises in video game history. In fact, Nintendo's beloved mascot platforming icon has been a gaming staple ever since he was known as Jumpman in 1981's arcade classic Donkey Kong. And ever since then, Mario has evolved into many different types of games and genres and succeeded in many of them. Whether as a two-dimensional side-scroller, a 3D platformer, or spin-offs where Mario races in karts, engages in party games, and becomes a golfer, Mario as a character is adaptable and moldable and able to do many things and do so successfully. As I said earlier, he is versatile and durable, and for that, Mario has survived many iterations. If anything, I'm sure that the character could even survive a nuclear apocalypse like how cockroaches probably can. Because to be honest, Mario and the franchise as a whole have endured something even tougher to live through than the prospective death of human civilization. And the thing that he has survived is shifting game industry trends. I mean, think about it. How many iconic video game characters have been around as long as Mario has, and still to this day receives high-quality new installments on a frequent basis that still delight fans and customers nearly 40 years after the fact, essentially existing and thriving for the vast majority of gaming history itself? And the answer to that is not many. Like, sure, Nintendo has other iconic characters and franchises that have lived a long time and have also survived many iterations like Donkey Kong, Kirby, The Legend of Zelda, and etc., but none of these franchises get as frequent of updates as the Mario series does. And then there's the fact that Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog franchise has been around since it debuted in 1991 and has been the Mario series' chief rival ever since then. But then again, Sonic hasn't been around as long as Mario has, and the franchise quality to this day is very hit and miss. I mean, come on, the Sonic franchise at the height of its popularity couldn't even save Sega's console hardware business from going down in flames like a Boeing aircraft, meaning that Mario is kind of the top dog in this arena. It's the only franchise that has been around for so long and has felt as fun and Nathan Drake's Subway fresh to this day, even though it feels like it has existed since the beginning of time. Because at this rate, this iconic Italian plumber is essentially a meatball vampire that drinks marinara straight from the jar. Good shit, my friend. And Mario still surviving to this day is incredibly impressive considering he survived the platformer boom of the 1990s. Like, think about it. Back then, there was a huge influx of platformers from that era of gaming history, many of which now have remained untouched for years and or have had a downturn in quality, even ones that were fan-tastic at the time and were made as a response to Mario's popularity. Many titles that Mario outlived when the industry trends shifted away from mascot platformers and then towards first-person shooters. Mario just continued on and thrived even while its competition, even its really damn good competition, faded into the background of relevancy and just became a part of gaming history, or so than becoming a staple brand for any given company. Hashtag justice for Gwimbly. Mario just continued to exist where so many platforming properties just happened to die. Because I wasn't kidding earlier, Mario will definitely survive anything, even a fucking nuclear apocalypse. What I'm trying to say is nothing in the video game industry has killed Mario yet. And the reason for that starts with the fact that the Mario franchise's core gameplay is rock solid and very accessible to younger players, especially back when the series was only two-dimensional. Particularly when the Mario character, after being on arcade machines with the earlier mentioned Donkey Kong in 1981 and 1983's Mario Brothers, made the jump, haha, to Nintendo's first console in the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES as some people like to call it. Or at least, I think that's how people often refer to it. I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. But regardless, the first Mario game on console was 1985 Super Mario Brothers, which was a game that established the blueprint of what console Mario games could and would be, i.e. its interesting formats of various worlds and stages, the absolute satisfaction and thrill the player feels over the act of jumping, hitting boxes, and landing on top of enemies, earning power-ups, and such, all while catchy and iconic musical themes play in the background. It was an exemplary core gameplay loop, and one that still feels fun to this day, hence why Mario still exists and is essentially Nintendo's Mickey Mouse, a literal mascot that even has theme parks devoted to him, which f***ing rules. But of course, Nintendo didn't just re-release the same style of formula over and over again for every Mario game henceafter. While sure, many of the core platforming and gameplay elements remain the same in Mario games to this day, just, you know, with shinier graphics, better sound quality, and higher visual definition, a lot of Mario titles added their own unique twist to the earlier mentioned established formula that would overall fundamentally alter the core gameplay, really starting with Super Mario 64 in 1996. See, before that game released released in 1996, the Super Mario series only received gradual changes between installments, like upgraded visuals between system changes, and handheld installments on the Game Boy systems, as well as most new games featuring new power-ups, abilities, and the advent of Yoshi eating enemies in a wholesome, colorful way, even though it makes me fear the contents of their inevitable Goomba-shaped shits. What I'm trying to say is that for the first decade plus of its existence, the Mario franchise only changed gradually. But it must be said, the first mainline major innovation to this franchise, after many years and that aforementioned gradual improvement to the Mario formula, came in the form of Super Mario 64, for reasons that become abundantly clear from looking at or just playing the game. After all, it was the first Mario game that was designed in 3 dimensions, and one that showed off the then impressive technology of the then new system in the Nintendo 64. See, unlike Mario games of yore, Super Mario 64 was designed in 3 dimensions. The worlds were bigger, more breathable, and featured challenges that befitted the fact that you can explore a world in ways beyond moving left and right, overall fusing the Mario franchise's core infectious gameplay to this style of game in a way that felt new and fresh in this new type of gaming environment. It was a big deal for obvious reasons, to the point that a plethora of companies tried to make their own 3D or 2.5D platformers and games to compete with Mario 64 and Nintendo's other properties that would receive their first 3D installments like The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Donkey Kong 64, and etc. Games that either went up against Nintendo on the N64 like Rare's Banjo Kazooie games, or titles on rival hardware platforms trying to show off their technical capacity in similar ways, like in the case of the PlayStation 1's large amount of platformer challengers like Insomniac Games' Spyro series and Naughty Dog's Crash Bandicoot games, i.e. Naughty Dog's first big hit franchise. Because, you know, before Naughty Dog hit it out of the park with narrative-driven interactive storytelling with the playable Indiana Jones-style Uncharted series, or the very gay apocalypse as represented by The Last of Us, a mischievous, troublemaking, and sometimes horny Bandicoot was what Naughty Dog was originally known for, because he spins, he jumps, he wears pants. What an icon. Meaning that Super Mario 64 was so innovative that it inspired a lot of worthy competition, with the exception of maybe Sonic the Hedgehog, whose 3D installments have a fair few faults. So that's a topic for another day. I'm not gonna talk about that right now, because the internet gets really weird whenever anyone criticizes the blue blur skid mark. What I'm trying to say is that Super Mario 64 was a big deal and altered the course of video game history. It has an important overall legacy. But with that being said, there was the original question of where the Super Mario franchise could go from there. After all, Super Mario 64 changed the game when it comes to how platformers are designed. And as a result, there then was the inevitable wonder of where does the series innovate from there? And to answer, looking back at the history of this franchise, Nintendo opted to create both 2D Super Mario Bros. Titles, essentially more modernized ones that were present on the NES and Super Nintendo Entertainment System eras, as well as 3D Super Mario titles building off of Super Mario 64, and doing so in ways that often really benefited and expanded upon the series' core in easily identifiable gameplay, all while adding new gameplay elements that kept the proceedings exciting. When it comes to the 3-dimensional Mario games, Nintendo followed up Super Mario 64 with a 2002 title in Super Mario Sunshine, which added a device and side character referred to as Flood, which added water and a hose that aid Mario in his platforming abilities, all while adding a new way for Mario to interact with the environment. Like the element of water itself became a part of the core platforming and puzzle-solving gameplay here, which was pretty cool. 2007 Super Mario Galaxy and 2010 Super Mario Galaxy 2 sent Mario to space and played around with gravity, all while making use of the Wii console's motion controls. 2011 Super Mario 3D Land was a combination of 2D and 3D platforming that made use of the 3DS's 3D features, because f***ing obviously. 2013 Super Mario 3D World was a Wii U title of similar style to Super Mario 3D Land, but with a key difference being in how the game made use of the Wii U's tablet, which, quick aside, we fly our flags at half-staff in remembrance of the Wii U. Also, that game had multiplayer and a cat suit power-up that allowed Mario and his friends to be able to transform into a cat, which is very important for scientific purposes. And finally, 2017 Super Mario Odyssey featured ingenious level design that made use of Cappy, or rather a hat that allows Mario to control the bodies of his enemies, which is kind of disturbing, more than a little up, but as Mario games do, it's portrayed in such a wholesome and colorful way that we don't think about the absolute David Cronenbergian body horror that is presented in front of us until after a fact. Because, you know, taking away free will is fun. And then when it comes to the 2D or 2.5D-ish, it's complicated, Mario games, Nintendo originally hit pause on those types of Mario games after the successes of 3D Mario games like Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine. But with that being said, the House of N eventually returned to Mario's roots with 2006's New Super Mario Bros., which released on the Nintendo DS handheld console, all before bringing that style of Mario game back to its mainline consoles, all while doing so in a way that added and innovated onto the 2D formula. 2009's New Super Mario Bros. Wii added 4-player cooperative shenanigans to the series, which really befitted the Wii's couch party multiplayer strengths. 2012's New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS placed an extra emphasis on collecting coins, which I hear that's a popular pastime. 2012's New Super Mario Bros. U enhanced the multiplayer aspect of Super Mario Bros. Wii by utilizing the Wii U's tablet to where one extra person could use the tablet to create platforms or be an absolute diet by forcing players into situations where they will ultimately die, which if your friends are assholes like mine are, that probably happened a lot, because truly the Wii U additions to the Super Mario Bros. Core gameplay encouraged a lot of team killing, and for that, we salute and remember the Wii U's service to this country. 2015 Super Mario Maker and 2019 Super Mario Maker 2 focus on users creating their own custom, inventive, and challenging Mario maps to share online with the rest of the world, and then finally there was the most recently released Mario title in 2023 Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a game that might be the best 2D Mario title in recent memory due to how every main stage had a collectible flower that transformed these levels into absolute acid trips of an experience, like piranha plants having a musical number, Mario being transformed into a sticky glob of goo, the act of being chased by giant ghosts, and etc. If anything, Super Mario Bros. Wonder essentially saw the standard Mario gameplay formula and then asked, but what if we made the player feel like they were tripping balls? It's just such an awesome game. And for that, whether we are discussing 2D, 2.5D, or 3D, the Mario franchise has proven itself to be incredibly versatile and durable, because these statements. In fact, at the ripe age of 43, the Mario series hasn't lost its luster yet, mostly because for several decades, Nintendo has added to and explored various creative avenues in order to innovate on the Mario formula and keep it fresh and invigorating, making interesting additions to an already timeless piece of game design that has delighted fans for decades, meaning that it's no wonder, no relation, as to why the Mario franchise has survived this long and has become a gaming staple throughout gaming history and has outlasted trends, competitor franchise, and rival hardware manufacturers. The series just knows how to evolve and stay relevant, and that's even without discussing the various spin-offs, kart racers, crossover games, party titles, mobile experiences, competing against Sonic in the Olympics, and sports games featuring Mario characters. Mario has just been able to be omnipresent in the video game space and stay relevant in perpetuity, a basic fact that has eluded so many other video game characters and franchises, because truly, Mario will outlive all of us. The franchise has shown itself to be adaptable to the wants of its fans. It has existed longer than most series, has been of consistent high quality, and has remained pop culturally relevant since its inception. And that's beyond impressive, because we have seen so many major franchises like Halo fall from pop culture importance. And then there's the fact that even franchises that have been around for decades or near decades and very much relevant in the pop culture video game space, many of these games still have some installments that are more than a bit lackluster and be of low quality. Because do you remember when the Resident Evil series fell under hard times? Do you remember the shit show that was Assassin's Creed Unity? Because I do. Some installments of these series just were not very good, but that really can't be said for Super Mario. It's a series that just embodies fun, having an infectious core gameplay characteristics of jumping, colorful level design, cool power-ups, and the act of making collecting stuff very addictive, all while each iteration of this series puts its own unique spin on the franchise that allows the player to experience Mario in a whole new way, proving the earlier mentioned thesis statement that the Mario franchise is versatile and durable.